press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
So, hello everyone. Let us start again the concept. So, till now discuss the methods of different methods which are used for the preparation of colloids, like the condensation and the dispersion method, right, and also the peptization, the last one what we discussed, right. The reagent used for the peptization process, that is called as the peptizing agent. Okay. So, next comes, once you prepare the colloids, they may or may not be in the pure state, right. So, then we should go for purification of colloids, purification of colloids. So, there are different methods again for the purification of colloids. Okay. So, see here the presence of here the electrolyte, as I said, it is required in small quantities. Okay, electrolyte is required in smaller quantities, but if it is present in excess, or some of the soluble impurities or dissolved substances which are present in case of our colloidal solution, when it has been prepared, so that should be removed from that colloidal solution. That can be possible only by the purification. So, what is that purification? We can define the purification also. The process used for reducing the amount of impurities, the process used for the reducing the amount of impurities to a requisite minimum is known as purification. What is purification? That is purification. Okay, it is just the process which is used to reduce the impurities to the requisite amount. See, why we have used the term requisite amount means, if the impurity is an electrolyte, okay, it should not remove the whole electrolyte from the solution. It should be there, some amount of electrolyte should be there to stabilize the colloidal solution, That is why not complete removal, it is the process of removing to a requisite amount. A requisite amount of impurity will be removed from the colloidal solution. That process is called as purification. So, here there are so many methods. Out of that, first one is nothing but the dialysis. What is the first one? That is called as dialysis. So, you are very much familiar with this dialysis process. So, where you are going to apply this dialysis? Yes, that is in case of the kidney failure. If kidney failure happens, they should depend on the artificial kidney, that is by a process that is called as the dialysis. That is a very painful process. That is why you should drink more water and you should keep your kidneys proper. Okay, not simply for simple diseases and all, you should not take medicines. Okay, you should do yogas, you should go for exercises and culture healthy habits. Then only we can keep our kidneys proper. Otherwise, if it leads to the kidney failure, so we have to depend on a process. If you are having money, then you can do. If you are not having money also, finally it leads to death. Right. So, that is why the kidney should be properly maintained. So, or if it is not, if by sugar or diabetes or diabetic, usually diabetic patients come across finally the that is nothing but the kidney failure, because they are going to take many tablets. Okay, so like that. So here dialysis we are going to application, that is nothing but in case of kidney failure. Okay, so that is the application of this dialysis, right. So there what it the device used for this process is called as the dialyzer. The device which is used for this process is called as the dialyzer, which what it will do, so it will filter the smaller ions, filter the smaller ions, leaving behind, okay, leaving behind the colloid, that is nothing but hemoglobin. Hb, I am going to represent that one, hemoglobin. Otherwise, if the kidneys are not, what is the function of kidney? They are useful, they are very useful. See, not only the biological use, you can have other uses also. Colloids are not only biologically important, they are also important in other fields also. We already discussed so many concepts, right. So here it is an interesting concept, that's why I am taking this one. Dialysis, in case of dialysis, the device used is called as the dialyzer. So what it will do, it will filter the smaller ions, okay, leaving behind the colloids, especially what is that, hemoglobin. Okay, so because kidneys helps in the absorption of important components. So once the body activity will be completed, no, so then finally it should be excreted. If extra is there, it should be excreted. That excretion should not contain the essential substances which are required for our body, just like your proteins or your hemoglobin, or you can say your albumin. So if it is releasing in the urine means, what is the meaning of that? That is nothing but a diseased condition. They are going to do the laboratories. If you are going to see the urine, the blood in the urine, you are getting that one. So then that means to say your kidneys are not properly functioning. Something is happening here. Some damage has been happened like that. Okay. So that because that's why they are not filtering proper. So then we are going to do the kidney function test. From that we come to, or we are going to for scanning and all, you come to know that, oh, kidney failure has been taken place. So that's why we should move on to the process that is called as dialysis. So which is a very painful process. I am repeating again. Okay, so that is, so whatever, so how this, what actually the phenomenon, what we are going to do in case of dialysis, that is important. So here in case of dialysis, so let me define the dialysis first, then I will go. The process of removing, right, a dissolved substance from a colloidal solution, a dissolved substance from a colloidal solution, by means of diffusion. You know about this one, diffusion, by means of diffusion through a suitable membrane, okay. So that is called as what? The dialysis. So what is dialysis? The process of removing dissolved or soluble substances from a colloidal solution by means of diffusion through a suitable membrane. Okay, you know the diffusion, that is a movement of particle from their higher concentration to the lower concentration by passing through the membrane. Okay, so here the device used, as I said, is called as the dialyzer. Okay, so which allow the smaller ions to pass through that, but not the colloids. That is the principle behind this dialysis. So it is not filtering the colloids, it is filtering the crystallites, the ions, the impurities which are present in case of that solution, colloidal solution. Okay, so if you diagrammatically represent that colloidal, what you can say, dialysis, no, so it will be having this one. So that is nothing but, you can have a tank. If you are having okay, which is having an inlet as well as the outlet. It is having one inlet as well as the outlet. So here you are passing the fresh water into the tank, and it is having a dialysis bag, or you can say the animal membrane, or you can say that what you can say dialyzing bag, suitable membrane containing colloidal solution. What it consists of? It consists of colloidal solution. Say these are, if I represent these as colloidal particles, so it is also mixed with crystallites. It is also mixed with crystallites. So they should be smaller in size. Right? Crystallites. So this is the bag what you are going to immerse here. The bag. Okay. So here what you are going to get, this is the dialyzing membrane. And it is the tank which is circulated by means of fresh water. So here you are going to get water plus crystallites. Water plus crystallites. Those are the ions which are associated with our colloidal solution. Let me represent. So these white dots what I represent, they are nothing but the colloidal particles. And the blue dots what I represented here, they are nothing but your crystallites. They are nothing but the crystalloids or the ions. So this is what we can have. So we can see that. So here, so when it is suspended, when it is the impure colloidal solution is suspended into a what? The impure colloidal solution in a bag, or you can say in a suitable membrane. That may be the parchment paper, or that may be the animal membrane. So you can have this one. So if through that is nothing but, or you can simply say that one as dialyzing bag, dialyzing membrane. Actually this is dialyzing, a bag of suitable dialyzing membrane containing impure colloidal solution is immersed into a tank containing water, which is circulated fresh water from the bottom. Okay, so the water will enter into this bag. Water will enter because it is provided by, it is a membrane, no, it is provided by means of minute pores. So small pores will be present on the surface of this membrane bag, right? So then it will allow the water molecule to go. While coming back, water will take the smaller ions along with it. Water will take the smaller ions because its concentration will be higher here inside the bag and its concentration will be lesser here. So what you call for that process, that is called as diffusion, right? So not only water, along with water you are going to get the crystallites. Along with the water you are going to get the crystallites which are smaller in size. But if you take the colloidal particles, as they are bigger in size, they will not pass through those pores which are present on the bag of, or you can say the membrane, dialyzing membrane, right? So then that bag is collected and it is mixed, the solution, the colloidal particles are mixed with a suitable dispersion medium and you are going to get the pure colloids. You are going to get the pure colloids. This is the process. In case of human beings also the same process. They are going to provide the dialyzer, so which is having the impure blood inside, right? So what are the essential requirements it will keep as it is, but it has been designed such that, so that the essential component will retain inside and non-essential components come out. That size is like that, it has been designed. Okay, so like that. But this process is a very slow process. Dialysis process is there, no? Very slow process. Every time the water will go and remove some of the crystallites, again it will go and remove some of the crystallite. So time consuming. So what has been done? The same device has been little bit changed by applying the electrodes. So what they have done? They have applied the electrodes. So let me represent with some other colors. Thereby you can see So what they will do? They will apply the electric current for this one. Electric current for this one. So same experimental setup is same. Okay. So it is say for example anode. It will be cathode. If it is anode and one more is cathode. So what happens here? Oppositely charged ion will go to the opposite electrodes. The process will become very fast because you have applied what? Electric current. You have passed the electric current by placing the electrodes. So then the process is called as electrodialysis. What do you call for this one? That is the second method which is used for the purification, that is called as electrodialysis. Are you getting the concept? Electrodialysis. So what you have to say? The ordinary process or simply the dialysis is a slow process which can be made fast by applying the electric current. If the dissolved impurity is only electrolyte, that is one more important point. When you can do this one electrodialysis, if the impurities which is present in the colloidal solution is an electrolyte, then only it will be applicable. If it is a non-electrolyte, what is the need of supplying the electricity? Right? If it is an electrolyte, then only what happens? When you pass the electric current through those two electrodes, so what happens? The oppositely charged ions will go to the opposite electrodes, leaving behind our colloids. Okay, so the pure colloids will be retained in the dialyzing membrane, so which we are going to again mix with the suitable dispersion medium to get the what? Pure colloidal solution. Are you getting the concept? Yes, I think that is done here. The next one is nothing but the third method, I think. Yes, purification can be done either by the dialysis or a little bit improved process, that is nothing but electrodialysis. Or you can go for one more process that is called as ultrafiltration. I think it is the third one. Yes, ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration. What is this ultrafiltration? So here, let me write the definition. The process of separating. The process of separating is a process of separating. Process of separating the colloidal particles. The colloidal particles. Colloidal particles from the substances from the solvent and from the solvent and soluble solute particles and soluble solute particles from the colloidal solution, from the colloidal solution. Little bit lengthier definitions these are, but they are very easy to remember if you understood the concept. Colloidal solution by specially prepared filter paper, or simply you can use here by using ultra filter paper, or simply by using ultra filter also you can say. Right? So what is this ultrafiltration? The process of separating the colloidal particles. The process of separating the colloidal particle from the solvent and soluble solids. Again, the process of separating the colloidal particles. Let me change here. The process of separating, again this one is not required here from the colloidal solution, because we are separating this one, no. See, simply I can wind up. The process of separating the colloidal particles from the solvent and the soluble solute particles using specially prepared filter paper. Specially prepared filter paper is called as what? Ultrafiltration. So that specially prepared paper is known. Generally, if you take normal filter paper, the colloidal particles will also pass, and the solute particles, solvent particle, everyone will can pass that through that what? Ordinary filter paper. Because the size of pores present in case of that particles are very bigger inside. Okay, so then the size should be reduced. How we can do that one? The size of this filter paper can be reduced by just simply rubbing the normal filter paper with wax or gelatin. One thing is that, so you can have this one. If it is a ordinary paper, and if you rub it with wax or gelatin, is one method, wax or gelatin. Okay, so that will be converted into a ultra filter paper. It will be converted into a ultra filter paper, where the size of the pores of the filter paper will get reduced. That's why it is called as ultra small. The size will become very small, right, which allow the solute and solvent particle but not the colloidal particles. So the colloidal particles will be retained on the surface of that filter paper, right. This is one method. Or what we can use a solution. This is one method for your preparing the ultra filter paper, or by using a solution called collodion. What is that solution called as? Collodion. COLLOIDON. Collodion. Okay. So that solution DOIN. Okay. Colloid DION. It is direct. Using a solution called collodion. Okay, so what is that collodion actually? It is 4% nitrocellulose. 4% nitrocellulose plus mixture of alcohol and ether. You may get this concept. Alcohol and ether. What is a collodion? Is a mixture of 4% nitrocellulose. Nitrocellulose paper will be there, no? Plus mixture of alcohol and ether is called as what? Collodion. If you take the ordinary paper and if immersed in case of the collodion solution, what happens? The size, or you can say the pore size of the filter paper will be get reduced, so that it will not allow the colloidal particles to pass through that. Thereby you can separate the colloidal particles from the solute and the dissolved what we can say solutes. Solvent and the dissolved solutes. Okay na? So that is the concept where behind that what do you call that one? Preparation of ultrafilter paper. Or you can have one more they have given in the book, that is by dipping the paper, that is you understood, ordinary filter paper, right, by dipping the paper into formaldehyde solution. What is that? Formaldehyde solution, and drying. So you are having the ordinary filter paper, no? Take that ordinary filter paper and dip it into what? Formaldehyde solution, and then if you dry this one, what the filter paper you are going to get? Again that will become your ultra filter paper. So, okay, so when that colloidal solution, impure colloidal solution is filtered through this ultra filter paper, be prepared by any of these methods, this is very important. Out of these three, this is very important. Collodion is very important. Okay, so what you are going to see, so the particles will be on the, that is the colloidal particles will be on the surface of that filter paper, which can be collected and mixed with a suitable dispersion medium. And the process is slow again. The process is slow, that can be increased by applying pressure or by applying the suction. By applying the pressure or by applying the suction, you can increase the rate of ultrafiltration. So I think you know about this ultrafiltration. That also takes place in case of kidney. See the nature, how it has been designed, right? So we are preparing artificially, actually all these processes are there in our body also. Okay, so that is, so here what we can see, so that is when you filter this impure colloidal solution through this ultrafilter, no, so what happens, the colloidal particles will not pass through that ultrafilter paper because the size has been made smaller. It will allow the solute and the solvent particle to pass through that, but not the colloidal particles. So they will retain on the surface, that will be collected and mixed with the suitable dispersion medium to get the colloidal solution in the pure state. Understood the concept? So here we discuss the three methods which are used for the purification of colloids. So one is nothing but the dialysis, and the second one is nothing but the what? Electrodialysis, advanced version of this dialysis, and the next one is nothing but the ultrafiltration that can be done using specially designed filter paper. Okay, so after knowing this, so you prepare the colloids, you purified the colloids. After that, you should know the properties of colloids. Next concept is nothing but the properties of colloids, which are very important. What are that? Properties of colloids. Okay, so let us discuss one by one. So what is that? Next concept is properties of colloids. Properties of colloids, right? So here the first properties is nothing but the colligative properties. You already learned these things in case of your solution chapter, colligative properties, the properties which depends on the number of particles, right? Colligative properties depends on the number of particles. It will not depend on a single particle. It will depend on the number of particles present in that particular solution. So what are those properties? Just recall what you have done in case of solutions. That is nothing but what? Osmotic pressure, okay, decrease in the freezing point, and then one more, elevation in the boiling point, okay, and here these are lowering of vapor pressure, all these are called as your what? Colligative properties. What they are? They depends on the number of particles, not on the size of particles. They depend on the number of particles. Okay, so as your true solution, these colloidal solution also are having the particles, they are smaller in size, so the magnitude, or you can say the value for these properties, the values for these properties will be less. Properties will be low compared to low, or you can say less, I can use less compared to true solution particles, right? Yes, both will possess the properties, but the values obtained for these, all these, that is in the osmotic pressure or decrease in the freezing point or elevation in the boiling point, will be less compared to the true solution particles. Okay, that is the first property, that is called as colligative property. Second one, if you move on, that is called as very interesting, very important, that is called as Tyndall effect. What is the next property? That is called as the Tyndall effect. Let us discuss this Tyndall effect in detail. That is, I think while writing the differences I have written. So true solution will not show Tyndall effect, whereas the colloidal solution, they show Tyndall effect, and if you decrease the size of the suspension particle, they will also show the what? Tyndall effect. Right? So here, this, what is this Tyndall effect? Let me write the definition. The phenomenon of scattering of light by the colloidal particles, is called as, what it is called? It is called as Tyndall effect. Okay. So this Tyndall effect was discovered by, in the name itself, discovered by John Tyndall. I think they have given the year also, 1869. Okay, so what is the Tyndall effect? The phenomenon of scattering of light by the colloidal particles is called as the what we call that one as Tyndall effect. Right? So again here, if you take in the dispersion medium, phenomenon scattering light by colloidal particles present in the colloidal solution, also you can join in the colloidal solution. That's why particles present in the colloidal solution. You have to note down. I repeat this one. The phenomenon of scattering of light by the colloidal particles in the colloidal solutions is called as the Tyndall effect. It was discovered by John Tyndall in 1869. Without making late, just I will explain this one. What is this Tyndall effect? If you are having a colloidal solution, suppose you are having a colloidal solution, and then if you pass a beam of light through a source, if it is a source of light, or simply I will take ordinary light, and if we allow the light to pass through, so you know that, so it will undergo, the light will undergo refraction in this way. Okay, in this way, let me write in straight. Here at this position, you are going to see that like this. Okay, if I view through this one, so it is nothing but you are viewing through the microscope, you can see that there is a illumination. So it is nothing but the colloidal solution. Okay, so it is a microscope what you are going to use to see this effect, and it is nothing but the lens what you are going to use, and this is nothing but the source of light. It is the source of light. You can see that this is what you called as Tyndall cone. Shall I write here? Yes, it is called as Tyndall cone. You can see the formation of a cone here. Okay, formation of a cone here. So what is that? So whenever a light is passed through the colloidal solution, and if you observe at the right angles to the path of the light passed, so light is passing this time, right angles means I should view through this, we are going to see what we can say, we are going to see the illumination. We are going to see the illumination in the direction, the beam of light visible due to scattering of light. So here we are going to see a path of light. See, simply if I take the torch and if I pass through a water, no, I am not going to see the path inside the water. But if I take a colloidal solution, if I pass that torch into that, no, I am going to see the path of that light. Why? Because that is mainly because of the scattering of light by the colloidal particles. Why we are going to see this illumination here when we view through the at a right angles to that light passed? Because the light has been scattered by the colloidal particles. During that there is a formation of a cone. So what we call for this cone, that cone is called as the illuminated path of beam is called as a Tyndall cone. So somewhere the question has been, what is a Tyndall cone? Tyndall cone, the illuminated, okay, the illuminated path of the illuminated path of beam during Tyndall effect is called as your Tyndall cone. You look at this one, cone, right? So the illuminated path of light is called as it will view only when you view at a right angle to the light passed. But if you see like this, no, you are going to see a black region. So this can be observed only through the microscope, right? So that is the concept here. Along the light, if you see that there will be no color, you are not going to see the path of the light so perfectly, you are not going to see any cone. But if you view at a right angle to the light pass through the microscope, you can see that there is an illuminated path of light, what we call that one as a Tyndall cone. So that is mainly because of what? Scattering of colloidal particles, scattering of light by the colloidal particles. Scattering of light by the colloidal particles. The same principle has been used in order to design a device that is called as ultra microscope. The same principle has been used to design ultra microscope. You are going to use in case of your biology laboratories. Ultra microscope, the principle behind the microscope. The principle behind the ultra microscope is again what? Tyndall effect. It was done by a scientist by name Zsigmondy. Who was that scientist? Zsigmondy. That is also they have given. So that is in the year 1903. In the year 1903, while he was doing studies on the pollen grains, that is in the biology laboratory, right? So that is the concept. What is the principle of this ultra microscope? What you have to write? Tyndall effect. There also, because of the scattering of light, you are going to see the particles. Scattering of light, you are going to see the microscopic particles inside that ultra microscope, right? Ultra structure, fine structure of the cell. You are going to see the organelles also in a clear picture. That is mainly because of this Tyndall effect, right? So again, so what are the conditions for the formation or to show this Tyndall effect? That is also one of the important concept. What are the conditions for the Tyndall effect? There are two conditions. You understood this concept. So what is the Tyndall effect? The phenomenon of scattering of light by the colloidal particles in the colloidal solution is called as Tyndall effect. It was discovered by John Tyndall, where we can see that when a beam of light is passed through the colloidal solution, and if it is viewed at a right angles to the light pass through the microscope, there is a formation of a cone or illuminated path of light. So that is mainly because of the scattering of light by the colloidal particles. Scattering of light by the colloidal particles. Remember, this is scattering of light is happening here, not the colloidal particles, right? So you can get the beautiful observations what we are going to see in our daily life. Thereby you can understand that, oh, this is the Tyndall effect. Very simple it is, like that you are going to get the feel. Before that, we should know what are the conditions to show the Tyndall effect. So conditions. Okay, the first condition is nothing but the diameter of dispersed phase is not much smaller, It is not much smaller than the wavelength of light. Than the wavelength of light. What the light you are passing now through that colloidal solution? Colloidal solution. So there the diameter, the size of the dispersed phase, that is the colloidal particle, should not be smaller. Should be smaller, but not that much smaller compared to the wavelength of light. It should be comparable with the wavelength of the light. Simply you can remember like this also. The diameter of dispersed phase should be comparable with the wavelength of the light. Then only it will show what Tyndall effect. So one more is there, the refractive indices. The refractive indices of dispersion phase and dispersion medium. Dispersion phase and dispersion medium differ greatly in magnitude. Differ greatly in magnitude. Greatly in magnitude. That is one more important point you have to note down. Only these two are the conditions for the colloidal solution to show what? Tyndall effect. Why the true solution is not showing the Tyndall effect? These are the cause. Because they are not obeying these two properties. Right? Why the suspensions are not? Because they are not obeying these properties. So what are the conditions for a colloidal solution to show Tyndall effect? The first one, the diameter of dispersed phase is not much smaller than the wavelength of light. Are you getting this one? It should be comparable with the wavelength of the light. Dispersed phase, the particles, colloidal particles. Then the refractive indexes or indices, plural, of dispersion phase and dispersion medium should differ greatly in their magnitude. You know that refractive index is nothing but sine of angle of incidence to that of sine of angle of refraction. Sin I by sin r you are going to represent. That value what you are going to get, that should be having a great difference. So if dispersion phase is having some value, means the dispersion medium should have a higher value or lesser value. There should be a difference, great difference in the value of the refractive indices of the what we can say dispersion phase and dispersion medium. Then only it will exhibit what? Tyndall effect. Yes, understood this one. So let us see what are the applications of this Tyndall effect, or what are the examples we can give. You know all these examples, you know, right? The first one is nothing but the tail of comet. Tail of comets. You know about comets, what do you call that one? Dhumaketu, right? So while they are passing, oh, when you see, you can say, oh, comet has been passed. You can easily find out because of its path. That path will be in the form of a cone. That is mainly because of the scattering of the light by the particles left by the movement of that comet. So comet is moving from one place to another place. No, it leaves some particles because it is a celestial object. Right? Those particles will scatter the light. That's why you are going to see the path of that comet. If scattering has not been happened, mean you are not going to see whether the comet has passed or not. Right? So after many time also, for a long duration of time also, you can see the path of that comet. That is like broom. You can see that broom. So that is mainly because of the scattering of light by the particles of the comet. So tail of comet is mainly because of what? Scattering of light by the path of comet, or you can say the solid particles left by the light is scattering of light by the smaller particles left by the path of comet. Are you getting this one? Yes. Now one more observation, that is blue color of the light, blue color of the sky. Blue color of the sky is also because of Tyndall effect. Blue color of the light is also due to Tyndall effect. So there also, which light scattered more? Blue color scattered more. That's why you are going to see the blue color. And also you can see that blue color of sea water. Blue color of sea water, right? If you hold the water, sea water in your hand, it will be colorless. But if you viewed from a distance, you can see that it is blue in color. Why? Because of again scattering of light by the water, the colloidal particles which are present in the water. Colloidal particles present in the water, they will scatter the light which coming from the sun, and they will scatter the blue color more. That's why the color of the sky is blue, the color of the sea water is also blue. And one more thing you can see in case of cinema projectors. Cinema projectors, as well as in circus. In circus, focus light will be there, no? Focus light will be there, no? Why you are seeing that light? Because the dust particles scatter that light. So behind, in the cinema halls, from the behind you are going to get a cone, light path that will fall on the projector, and you are going to see the pictures. So why that part is you are going to see? Because the dust particle will scatter that one. Because dust is also an example for a type of colloid. Right, solid in gas, aerosol, I have given example for that one. Dust is an example for aerosol. So that is what it is, scattering the light. So that's why in case of the projectors of cinema halls as well as the focus lights of circus, there is a scattering of light. And one more example we are having, that is in case of homes, usually in case of tail home. Hanchin mane, what do you call? Or you can say in case of RCC also, if there are small slits, small openings, you are going to see a path of light. You are going to see a path of light or sharp ray of light you are going to see. Again, that is also because of the scattering of light. Likewise, you can see so many examples in your daily life that involve the Tyndall effect. That's why Tyndall effect is very, very important. So, what are the conditions you have to know? What is the definition for that? And what are the examples? Or they can ask, what is the cause for the blue color of the sky? So, you have to say that is nothing but scattering of light, or you can write as Tyndall effect. Right. So, likewise, we are having so many concepts. So, next we are having the second property, that is called as Brownian movement. That is the next property, Brownian movement. So, that is also very important concept. So, that we are going to discuss in the next classes. Possible next classes we can finish it up the concept of colloids. Okay. Thank you.